This is Mark McNeese, and you're listening to One Thing or Another, interviews and conversations. Welcome to this week's podcast. Your host, Mark, here, and today my guest is a returnee and also somebody that I have known for a number of years now because she writes book reviews, and I had the pleasure of sharing them on the site lgbtsr.com and then also my own personal site. It's Terri Schlichenmeyer, also known as the Bookworm Sez. Terri, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. This is my time of year. I'm not a summer person. I think you are, because you have.
Yes, I are.
Yeah.
To me, this is the season of death. Everything turns brown and dies.
Oh, but it's so nice and cool. I need the cool to function. Like when it's hot and humid, I'm not a nice person, but this time of year I love it. And,
anything under 70 is too cold.
Well, I'm digging it, and you're not. And tell everybody where you are.
I'm in Wisconsin, where I think it actually got down to about 43 degrees last night.
What part of Wisconsin? Remind me again.
I'm over near the Mississippi. I'm about 20 minutes from the Mississippi River, 25 minutes to the Mississippi River. So I'm on the Minnesota side. I can be in Minnesota within a half an hour if I wanted to.
And we've talked about this before. I'm very familiar with Wisconsin. You have a children's program on the air there still I'm sure it's still on the air. Although they're going to streaming, but it's Into the Outdoors. It's called Into the Outdoors. It's for 7 to 12-year-olds, or at least it was. But I co-created that show 20-plus years ago. We got we got 2 Emmys when I was writing it, but I only did it for 2 years, and they have like 17 Emmys now. But anyways, so I've been to Wisconsin lots of times. My dear friend Rick Rose now lives in Madison, and works with their...
Everybody's familiar with Madison.
Yes, I like Madison. And
I love Madison.
Wisconsin, even 22 years ago, was it's kind of a bastion of progressivism, and it's so not that anymore.
Spots are. You would be surprised. Wisconsin is a swing state for a reason. There are deep conservatives, and there are absolutely total 100% opposite liberals. Wisconsin is a purple state. You'll find a little bit of everything here. So
well, and recent polls have Biden winning it, even though Rick said he thinks Trump's going to win Wisconsin, but Biden's going to lose the election. But anyways, so Biden's up in Wisconsin.
Yes, he is, by a little bit, just by a little bit. Enough to count, enough to make me happy.
We got in Pennsylvania, which I work in Pennsylvania. That's a swing state too. I live in New Jersey, which is not a swing state. And I so wish we would get rid of the Electoral College someday because it would make everyone count. And I know we're getting into politics here, but the whole thing with the Electoral College is most people don't understand it. I can't even say that I understand how it's made up and all of that stuff, but it's an anti-democratic institution, and people who want to keep it tend to have this misunderstanding that it protects smaller states and this and that. It doesn't. What it does is it makes Republicans in New Jersey irrelevant. It makes Democrats in Mississippi irrelevant. Our presidential elections are decided by 4 or 5 states every single time, and it's horrible. It's just a horrible institution. And if the current president is reelected with the college and not the popular vote, it's just going to be an uproar because it's got to go. It was never intended to do that.
Right. Basically, if it has something to do with a certain small people who are electorates who actually are the people who say yay or nay for the president.
Right. That's who we vote
for. Or whoever they will follow loosely. They're supposed to follow what the majority of the people want, but it still doesn't actually always work that way. So I don't understand it either 100%, but it has something to do with a small handful of electorates in each state who are supposed to follow the will of their area, and there's where gerrymandering comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't totally understand it either. Boy, are we bad high school students.
Yes, I did I remember civics class, and I did a bill on legalizing sexual behavior for consenting adults, and I was in high school, so that was kind of I was kind of out there back then. Now let's get on into what you're on the podcast mostly to talk about, even though I love politics with you because I see your stuff on Facebook and you're quite the firebrand. But you are a book reviewer. That's what you do. You've been doing it for... Tell people a little bit about how you got into reviewing books and like what is the life of a book reviewer like? And then we're going to get into some books that you recommend.
I started doing this 18 years ago, believe it or not. I worked at a radio station. I was the copywriter there. And I was also working at a bookstore. So I realized that there wasn't, that people read, obviously, but I thought maybe I could take my two jobs and put them as one. So I went downstairs to the program director and said, hey, can I do radio reviews? He said, sure. I said, okay. So I did a few radio reviews where I would read a book and I would talk about it on the air every Friday morning. So I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years. And a friend of a friend said to me, a friend of a friend who knew someone who owned a newspaper in Minnesota said, I would, so-and-so would like you to do reviews for her paper. And I thought, okay, what the heck? So I started doing basically what I was doing, only writing it down. And I did that for about, 6-8 months. And I slowly began to realize that I was not seeing that at any other newspapers, websites, anywhere. There just wasn't anything out there except the New York Times stuff, the LA Times stuff, the AP Wire. And that was serving the Stephen Kings and the John Grishoms in the world, but it wasn't serving the smaller books that people kind of would like.
Mm-hmm.
So I started calling around with a few of my samples, and I signed on a paper within the first 3 weeks of just calling around on my off times, on Friday afternoons and things when I had a little bit of time away from my full-time and part-time jobs. And I signed on a paper. Whoa, that was kind of interesting. And so then I had 4, and then I had 6, and then I had 5, and then I had 8, and then I had 4. So it went like that for about 10 months until one night I finished my work and I went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up at 6 to go to my full-time job because, it was becoming a real job to review books.
Mm-hmm.
So I shut it down on a Sunday night, and I went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. And 2 hours later, I woke up at the start and realized that I made a big mistake in one of the reviews. So I logged back on at 4 o'clock in the morning, fixed everything, sent it out again, and at 2 o'clock, when I got up at 6 to go to work, I was a zombie. And so I called my ex, who was my husband at the time, and said, I can't do this anymore. I need to quit. I need to quit these jobs. And so I did, and I started working for myself in 2005.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's a long time to be you're syndicated, really. And
yes.
What is just a typical day, briefly, in the life of the Bookworm Sez?
I usually get up about 10 after 8, and I know that sounds like I'm a total slug, which I am. But I get up about 10 after 8, clean out the email. I read 2 online newspapers every day because I need to stay current with current events and the news and language, basically. So I read the newspapers quick. I usually take a shower around, 10:30. Go back to work. I make phone calls during the day, write the reviews, do whatever else I need to do. Stuff in a 10-minute lunch at 12:30. I work on my reviews and my calls until 5. I watch the news quick. Stuff down a 10-minute supper, and I read until usually 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's my day, Monday through Friday. If I'm smart and I'm a good time manager for the week, I'm done by Friday night at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I get a weekend. If I'm not a good time manager for the week, I work through the weekend until my work is done.
And about how many reviews do you do a week?
I try to keep it at 4. Sometimes there are 3, which is by design, especially if I've got other projects that I'm working on. I would say 3 to 5, but almost always 4.
Now, some people are going to wonder, I know they will, because we've spoken before, where you get your books? Who approaches you about reviewing books?
I get books directly from the publishers of the books. They email me with a pitch and tell me what they've got, and I have, over the course of a month, I have several targets I have to hit. I need 2 books a month by an LGBTQ author. I need 2 books a month that are business related. I need 1 pet book. I need 2 health books, and I need 2 children's books. So I assess what these books are that they're pitching, when they come out, where they're published, if I have any room for them, and decide yay or nay. Right now, I have enough to last me through the end of the year. I've already got things coming that have been pre-approved that I've said yes to, or things that I've asked for a reason, or things that have been sent to me. So anything that comes out in October is probably going to be a no, because I'm already scheduled for October. I'm looking at January now for the books. So to me, it's one gigantic year-long jigsaw puzzle. Where do I fit things in, and how do they fit?
Do you read for pleasure?
About 2 books a year if I'm lucky. Good news is that most of the books I read, not all, but most, are pretty pleasurable. These are things that I would want to read anyway. So that's the good part of my job. The bad part of my job is when I get a stinker and I have to finish it because I'm too invested with time in it, and it just doesn't work for me. Yeah. But in that case, I have to finish it, and I try to look for some good in it, because there are not a lot of really, truly horrible books. There are some in the world, oh yes, but I try to find something good to offer people, because everybody has a different opinion. There are times when I just flat out can't. And in that case, I'm honest. I tell people that, no, don't buy this book. Don't bother. Mm-hmm. Because they're just, life is too short to spend good money on a bad book.
I like that. Now let's talk some books, some good books, and see what you think people should be checking out.
Well, here's the good news. We are right in the middle of the best season in the year, because a lot of the books are being released for Christmas now. A lot of the good things, the 2 big seasons for books are September through November and March and April. March and April are usually the fiction, heavy on mystery. It's for people who are vacationing. Okay. Now is for the nonfiction and the other things. This year, a lot of the things in the spring, March, April, because of COVID-19, got bumped back. So, for instance, there was a biography on Wendy Carlos that was supposed to have been released last spring, and it got bumped, and it's been out maybe a couple, 3 weeks. And it was very, very good, by the way. Wendy Carlos, who was Walter Carlos, promoted the Moog synthesizer and did some fantastic things with digital music back before it was ever a thing. Mm-hmm. So that was a good biography, and I'm giving you a little bit of background. So we are right in the middle of the big fall season. A lot of things have already released for the month of September. obviously, and Tuesdays. Look for Tuesdays is my advice now. Frederick Bachman released Anxious People, which was an absolute delight. There is a new book by Elijah Cummings, the late Elijah Cummings, and that was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I picked out a whole pile of books that I want to talk about, and the first one I have on my pile is Chicago's Great Fire, and this is about the fire that happened in 1871. That the Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Yeah, that's the fire that refers to. The interesting thing about the Chicago fire was that, relatively speaking, it was smaller than the one at the same time in Peshtigo, Wisconsin. So this book talks about Peshtigo. It's not the focus, but if you read this book, which is absolutely wonderful, if you read this book, also look for Fire and Ice, I believe it is. It's an older book about the Peshtigo fire, which killed more people and destroyed more land. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to wrap this up for someone, also look for a book on Peshtigo, because they absolutely belong together. So, and this one, Chicago's Great Fire, comes out October 6th. So that's one for you to look for. Dog's Best Friend is about an unremarkable bond. Simon Garfield is the author, and he's a really fun writer. He's British, and he lives in London. And this book is about a black lab, his black lab, and anybody who loves dog books knows that this is a no-brainer. It's called Dog's Best Friend. Simon Garfield comes out in November. This one I'm super excited about. Have you ever read any Ruth Goodman?
No.
Okay. Ruth Goodman is also British. She wrote How to Be a Victorian and How to Be a Tudor. So what she and her husband and one of their business partners have a farm in Great Britain. And they pick a period of time and live totally as if that was then, if now was then. So, for instance, she lived for 1 year as a tutor, Tudor, not for school. So, for instance, and the thing that struck me the most with the book on how to be a tutor is that she didn't wash her hair for a year.
Oh my God!
I know,
because they didn't wash their hair, right?
Because they didn't use soap and shampoo like we do. They used other products. And I remember her saying that it was pretty gross for a little while, and then after a while it really wasn't, because her body acclimated to what she was doing. And so this is what she and her husband and their business partner do, is they ran a farm as if they were living in Tudor times. They ran a Victorian pharmacy for a while. So so they very, very much dive into this. Well, she has a new book coming out in October called The Domestic Revolution, and what it is how coal changed Victorian homes. The use of coal. And that's such a small subject, but knowing Ruth Goodman, I just got this 2 days ago, and I danced around the kitchen when I opened the package. She takes such a small slice of like coal, she will, and she will explain everything and put you almost into a Victorian home. Such fascinating writing, and that's Ruth Goodman. It's called The Domestic Revolution. If you read this, you're going to want them all. Okay. You're going to want to read them all. I highly recommend her book on being a Victorian and how to be a tutor. They're fun books. For business owners, I know you have a lot of business people who are probably listening. The Leader's Guide to Unconscious Bias. This is a book on how to find the bias that you have and to hire people who are more diverse and to get better teams, better business teams through diversity. But you first have to get rid of that bias that you've got. Mm-hmm. And that's what this book is about. That comes out the end of October, and it's by Pamela Fuller, Mark Murphy, and Annie Chow, and they are CEOs at AT&T Business. So
Okay.
it's a leader's guide to unconscious bias. This book, this is another book I got 2 days ago. It's called One Last Song. And I love this book because it really makes you think. If you could choose one song before you died that you heard on the way out, what would it be and why?
Interesting. A whole book? It's
a whole book about this. And the author doesn't just discuss it for himself. He also asks musicians.
Right.
And he asks everyday people. And he asks rock and rollers and different artists. And then he writes about artists who, the last song that different musicians played before they died. And so it's a meditation somewhat of death, life and death, but it's also, it forces you to think, what would be that last song that you would want to hear in your ears on your way out of your life?
That is fascinating. Now, can I ask you, have you thought about what song you would like to hear?
I'm leaning toward the Beatles. And I just haven't decided which one yet.
I think for me, because I wanted this sung at our wedding, but we didn't have a wedding, so it didn't get sung. We got married, but we didn't have a wedding. We had a party. But it's a Song for You by Leon Russell. I just have always, there's something about that song that just I love, and I think I might want to hear that. I know that like half the population is go Amazing Grace, which is so cliche. I'm sorry, but that's really cliche.
No. I would not want anything. I don't think I'd want anything religious or even spiritual.
No.
I guess I'm kind of leaning towards something by the Beatles because there's such a, and I know this is wimping out, there's such a wide range of songs to choose. So I guess I would have to say, of all the categories, I'd have to say John, Paul, George, and Ringo, but I would have to think about that a little bit more.
Okay. We'll do that the next
time.
So
that's called One Last Song, and it comes out October 13th. The author is Mike Ayers, Ayers. Write that down.
Okay. One
Last Song. And I think it's going to be, it's trivia, it's information, and it's one of those things that's going to make you really, really think how you, and the next step I thought that would be fun with this book is who would you want to hear it with?
Okay. I like that.
It's just, just the next, I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was fun.
But I'll probably take that when it comes through on your emails. I'll probably do that one.
Okay. All right. Look for it. This one's fun. This one's going to be fun too. Singular Sensations: The Triumph of Broadway by Michael Rydell. And
that's very LGBT.
Yes, and he talks about the 1990s in Broadway, and the different things that were released, and he talks about how it really changed Broadway. The Lion King, The Producers, Rent, Angels in America. All of those different shows, and this comes out November 10th, just in time for Christmas wrapping.
That'll be an interesting one too, because I was living in New York City. Well, I was there for 25 years, but I moved there in the early 90s, and so I'm going to know those shows.
Oh yeah, and who doesn't? Who doesn't know Chicago?
Yeah.
Who doesn't know The Lion King? These things were not just on Broadway, but I think it's relevant even for people who don't go to Broadway shows. I think it goes beyond just Broadway, is my thinking. Again, that's November 10th, and this one comes out real soon. This one comes out October 6th. This is the last one I pulled off my shelf. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
TMI: My Life in Scandal by Perez Hilton.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And, Perez Hilton kind of has a little bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
And he seems in this book, and I haven't read it all the way through, I've kind of looked at it, but he seems in this book, and this cover is I just now looked at it. Oh, little heavens. He seems to kind of come to grips with this and maybe change a little bit.
Well, and he's sort of out of the public eye, I think.
Yeah.
Raising a kid or something like that.
Yeah, and he seems a little softer on this. This is a reflection of his life.
Yeah.
And of the persona that he's given, because he's not Perez Hilton is not his real name,
right?
And so I think he talks about the person he is in the limelight and the person he really is, and it seems like he's maybe coming to move the two personalities together. Maybe the cover. If you're sitting by a computer, look up TMI by Perez Hilton. He's wearing on the cover of this a cropped pink T-shirt and pink ankle warmers, and that's it.
That's all he's
wearing.
wearing.
He has wrist wraps too. So yeah, he's kind of out there in more ways than one.
Well, he lost a bunch of weight too.
Yeah, he truly did. Are you looking at it?
Oh my God, are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Yeah.
See what I mean? He almost doesn't look like himself on this cover.
No, if anybody's listening, you got to look this up. That's wild.
Yeah, you have to. TMI by Perez Hilton, and that is a really risque cover. It makes me laugh, but I think that's going to be a good book if you are a fan. If you're not a fan, or if you've ever been the target of some of his blogs, I think that it will be a very good read for you.
Well, I'm just shocked at that picture. Not because it's shocking, but because what a body. I mean, he was like this sort of plump, bitchy queen, and that doesn't look like no. But
no,
anyway,
and he does talk about becoming a father in this book. So I'm wondering if maybe that has something to do with this softening, if you will. I wonder that. So yeah, if you're sitting by a computer, look that up, because you will be a little bit shocked too, I think.
Now, wrapping up, I wanted to ask you a little bit. That's it for the books, right? You said that was your last.
Yeah, those. I just pulled those out as absolute don't miss highlights.
I'm just really curious as a final question here. With the pandemic, with the lockdown, all these things going on, I know that conferences obviously have not happened.
Yeah.
How has all of that affected what you do, your work as a book reviewer?
I try to stay for the reviews that I send out to my newspapers. I try to stay as new and relevant as possible. For the last 3 weeks or so, I've been sending people reviews of books on Friday night of books that don't come out till Tuesday. That was not possible when the pandemic first hit. It was hard getting books for a while. I got a lot of ebooks, which for me meant for every ebook I spent 10 hours with weepy eyes and burning and, oh my God, headaches.
Yeah.
So I managed to cobble together April, May, June. July, things got a little better. August, things got a little better. And in September, I'm back on track. Now, for the fall, for October, November, December, like I said, I'm tentatively sketched out, believe it or not, for the next 3-4 months. But it made things a little bit difficult to get, because a lot of the publicists just they weren't in their office. They didn't have access to what I needed. Yeah. But I have to tell you this, I work with absolutely some of the best publicists in the world, and they rallied for me, and they got me what I needed. And when they didn't, we put a Band-Aid on things, and we worked around it. And I never had a scramble moment where I said, oh, I need such and such and I don't have it. Never had that. And so overall, it didn't affect me a lot. But week to week, there were some months where I had to either go with a bound galley, which is is basically a bunch of typed up pages that are printed pages that are put in a binder, which I almost never do bound galleys because I'm a klutz and they are fraught with problems. So, and there were months when I had to reach back. Yeah, I really hate reaching back in time more than a couple of, more than a month. There were times when I had to reach back several months. And so it affected me to that point, but no one ever complained because I think everybody knew what the score was. Everybody over the last 7 months just seems to, we're doing our best. And I think that's as good as it gets. And I work with the best people in the country, so.
Okay, now just if somebody listening goes, well, where can I read her reviews? What's an easy way to find you? Just search for you, or what's a good way to find you?
Yep. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, The Bookworm Sez, and that's S-E-Z.
S-E-Z, correct.
You will find me on Facebook, and I repost whenever I find links. I repost all of my links on there, so you can find some of my reviews. You're also going to find how to spell my name. So if you really want more, you can put me in a search engine. You're going to find me. And I'm occasionally on LGBTSR.
Right, and I have spelled your name many times. Let's see if I can do this from memory without a keyboard in front of me. Schlichenmeyer.
Very good. Boy, that took me 20 years to learn.
Wow. See, I'm just trying to keep my cognitive stuff going in case I'm ever running for president. I don't want anybody to say I'm senile.
No, I don't want that either.
So,
in more ways than one. So, yeah.
Terri, it's been... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, these are, and if you, I wanted to say that, I do want to say this before you make me go away. If you have any questions about books, if you say, I am looking for a book by XYZ, or my favorite author hasn't written a book in a while, or what can I read, throw yourself at the mercy of a librarian or a bookseller. These people are experts. Seriously, they're experts. They know. If you say, I like Stephen King, but he's not writing fast enough, what do I look for? They will know what you should look for. Or if you say, my nephew is 12 and he hates to read, what do I get him? They will know. They will know what a 12-year-old reluctant reader will like. So if you have any questions, or you're looking for something like somebody else, or you're looking for something that's totally different from something else, or you just don't know what you want, ask, because these people know. They're superheroes in everyday clothes. I'm not lying to you.
Okay, and I'm currently reading The Silent Patient. I don't have it in front of me, and it's an ebook, so I can't tell you the author's name, but I really like it. Fiction. That's it. I would love to have you back on it for the Christmas season and tell people what we should be stuffing in each other's stockings. Electronic.
Oh, I like that idea.
And I do like hardbacks, by the way. I for a long time I became a Kindle person because I can enlarge the font, which is good for my eyes. But I like a really good hardback, and I just got some. And so, anyways, it's been really good to have you on. I look forward to more of your reviews and more of your opinions on Facebook, which you're not shy about.
I'm not shy about this.
No, and it's been great to have you on.
And I love talking to you.
Well, I love talking to you, and the next time we talk, this election will be resolved, I'm quite sure. So that will be very interesting, one way or the other.
We will either laugh ourselves senseless, or we will
sob,
or cry or sob. Yes. Yeah, okay. I did a lot of that. So anyway.
Okay, Terri. Thank you so much.
You bet, and thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.